Welcome to The Secret Witch Show, the podcast providing a safe and alchemical altar space of conversations which help powerful women escape a half-hearted, spiritless society and rediscover the freedom of living a wildly magical life. Every other week, we explore how to cast aside the wounds of shame, guilt, and fear connected with fully being yourself, so you can grant yourself permission to stop hiding, ground soulfully back into your body, illuminate your whole soul desires, tend your soul, rediscover and reclaim your powerful gifts, express your magic, and manifest your wildest alchemy. There's no better place to become who your heart longs to be. This is where we will guide you into liberation. I'm your host, Nicole Barton, and I'm so excited to dive in. Welcome to The Secret Witch Show, another gorgeous, juicy episode. I am so excited to be here with you all. I've really, I have to say, I've really been enjoying some juicy conversations this last month or so in our Secret Witch Society, via email, just with women in general. I have really felt a call to birth something called the 100 Healers Project, which basically means in the next year I would love to see 100 new healers. This feels like quite an edgy mission to share, but like it just feels so dear to my heart that I really want to see 100 new healers. And by this I mean for women who are kind of like feeling that they've known for a long time that you're here to be a healer, and maybe you're on the fence, kind of scared, and this is the woman that I serve, basically. And my goal is to, or my vision, my heart's vision, is to help 100 new healers. And this is what matters to me. Like, I want this to be something that we're all part of. And every year, I want to see if we can create 100 new healers. So that's my intention that I've been called to recently. And I really feel this is something that we can work together on as a shared vision. So if you have a friend who you know could be a good healer, who could benefit from this episode, but maybe felt held back, I invite you to share this episode. If you enjoy it, listen to it first, see if you enjoy it. If you do, then I would love for you to share it. The other thing is that I love being in our Secret Witch Sisterhood on Facebook. So if you are looking for a community, then I would invite you to share, come and join us, share your heart in there, and you will be made so welcome. All parts of you will be loved. And yeah, I look forward to meeting more of you who are listening to our gorgeous podcast. On The Secret Witch Show today, though, I'm exploring the importance of being attuned to our intuition as healers, especially when we doubt our magic. Exploring the common challenges of the secret witch, who's a secretly wise woman born here to be a healer, as self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and lacking confidence in or mistrusting our gifts. I'm diving into how to embrace our gifts by healing our healers' wounding around magic. In this episode, I illuminate a practical path for reconnecting to our bodies for deep, intentional healing and reclamation of our inner wisdom and intuition. And I'm guiding you into unlocking your healing power and beginning to transmit your unique remedy into the world. I explore my mission a bit more to create a movement of 100 new healers and the power of working with Archetypal Remedy Luna, which this episode is transmitting, or the moon, in other words, to help us learn how we can use self-healing tools for healing our inner healer and expressing our gifts. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this juicy episode on intuition, so that we can become true, wise women, especially when we doubt our magic. I have been speaking to lots of women at the moment as part of the 100 Healers Project that I was just speaking to in the intro, and that is really all about my heart's deepest vision is to see 100 new healers in the next year. And it's almost like, again, that invitation into being part of that movement. Like, there's a reason, there's a purpose why I do this work, and it is to help ultimately heal the world, but like also healing ourselves, healing our communities, healing our families, bringing everybody into that place of healing. And so my mission is to create this movement that we're all part of in the next year to see 100 new healers. So if that is you, if you're kind of on the fence and you're like, okay, like this matters to me, I want to become a healer, I'm feeling that call, like I want you to know you are part of this, like you are part of this mission that I have, and I want to see if we can get 100 new healers every year. So I'm setting that intention as I bring this episode into the world. I talked the other day in a post about how we're always transmitting something into the world. Like we are each remedies. I'm not going too deep into that right now, but like we're all individual, unique remedies, archetypal remedies, and we each have our own unique medicine. And we're all transmitting something into the world. So I always contemplate very intentionally in each episode, like what remedy am I serving in this episode? Because I work with remedies very consciously. There's like different aspects of me and you that I'm consciously, intentionally serving. And part of that is the healer archetype, the secret witch archetype, making her less secret, bringing her into full, true expression of her healing magic. So we're working together on that shared mission. And so as part of that, this month and last month, I have been asking women as secret witches in our Secret Witch Sisterhood group on Facebook, like, what's the biggest challenge that you've been facing as you walk the journey of becoming a healer? And just to also add, like this was the episode that those women voted for, which is also something I offer you the opportunity to do when you're part of the group. So if you want to join us in there and you're not already in there, then you're very welcome to. Ultimately, the question was, what are the biggest challenges that you are facing? And as you walk the journey of becoming a healer, which is women who I serve, and women have been sharing, and it's so beautiful to witness a woman sharing openly and vulnerably what they're sharing with. And it reminds me of my own journey and what I have struggled with, and to an extent do still struggle with. I always say this work kind of gives us the tools to know how to navigate those struggles rather than just like simply healing them and taking them away, although it does do that as well. But they were sharing some really beautiful things around like where they're struggling. So for example, one of the common themes that's been coming up is this idea of lacking confidence in our gifts. This idea of like doubting ourselves, self-doubt, imposter syndrome. Like, do I even have gifts? What can I even add into the world? Like, am I really here for this? And I was actually even just talking to a friend who was feeling this wounding before I came on to record. So this is the wounding that is like really prevalent at the moment, I'm feeling, for healers. And it can leave us with this sense that we aren't cut out for being a healer. Like when we don't have those tools, as I was saying, like this healing path guides us into having the tools, when we don't have those tools, it can leave us with this sense that we just aren't cut out for it. And that breaks my heart because I've also been there. But it makes sense from how we've been conditioned. There's this kind of favouring in our culture of logic, of being linear, like of this sense of like we should know the way, we shouldn't feel doubt, this should be easier, like this should be faster, this should be quicker. Like we're also taught not to trust magic and mystery. And first and foremost, like how to connect to our intuition so we can become true wise women even if we doubt our magic. Like this is revealing, this doubt of our magic is revealing a place for us to love. So if you're listening to this and you're like, actually that's me, I doubt my intuition, I doubt my magic, I'm not feeling confident in the journey of becoming a healer, I'm wondering like, am I really here for this? Do I really have gifts? You are not alone. Like, this makes sense. We are taught that magic and mystery is not valid, that we should not trust our intuition, and that wise woman beautiful gift of trusting intuition is not welcome in the world. And that is not our fault. And I remember this self-doubt myself. In fact, from time to time, as I said, like I always say, I'm walking the journey with you. I still experience this self-doubt. Like I say, this work doesn't take away the self-doubt. It gives us tools to hold ourselves through it. So I still experience this. I still and this is different degrees of this. Like where I would have once felt it at a certain level, like that would have been quite a lot to hold for me. Like there are huge changes that I make in my business and life all the time now that I'm now able to expand into because I've healed this piece about self-doubt. Such as when I birthed the Archetypal Apothecary healing modality, and I was like, basically blew up my business. I was like, no, there's something different, that's soul aligned, that wants to come in. And that was a year or so ago now. And I didn't entirely blow it up, but there's an impact to that. Like, I had a successful business and I paused what was going on and like birthed this new modality. And I really had to lean into like trusting myself, trusting my magic, trusting the signs and synchronicities, trusting the knowing deeply within me that this was what I was here for, and lean into that. And I really did have to take my own medicine around healing self-doubt and lean into self-trust, self-love, self-welcoming, trusting my intuition and nudges that were like, yes, this is the way forward. And even just now, like, I'm making some big team changes within the Secret Witch team, and navigating my choices around those is really coming from like attuning to the wisdom in my body and heart, and learning how to harness that as a compass. My body is a compass, a guide to my deepest truth, to what's aligned, to being able to trust my intuition. It's really helping me navigate, and I can still doubt myself. And so I've really journeyed deeply with healing this wound. And what I do know from that is that this kind of self-doubt, this like feeling of not being able to trust our magic, this feeling of like lacking intuition or not being able to trust our intuition if we're in connection with it, that does not mean that we are not here for this. What that means is, my point of view is that this self-doubt, this imposter syndrome, is not a sign you're not cut out for being a healer. You're likely always going to feel that doubt on some level. Like, yes, it might feel less significant at points in the future, but there is still always going to be a journey with it, because it's just what happens when we're living from soul. What it is a sign, in my point of view, is that there's still some healing to do, to heal your inner healer and her healer wounds, aka your secret witch wounds. If you're here, you're listening because you're a secret witch. It's likely you have secret witch wounding. Secret witch wounding is hiding because there are 3 main wounds that I see come up for women who are moving into the healer space. And specifically, there's some healing to do when we're feeling this wound around the parts of us that are wise women but disconnect from our intuition. AKA, it's a call to heal the layer or the kind of wounding of our healing witch that doubts her magic. And I help women with learning to heal themselves and heal their inner healer so that they can A, discover their gifts, and B, express their magic. So there's like the 3 phases of the heal, discover, express. And there are also 3 wounds that I see that commonly come up for women as we're moving into this becoming of a healer. And I say that because becoming a healer is a becoming. And there are 3 wounds that I see that hold women back. And these are from my own journey. I've seen these for myself as well. And they're ones that we journey with deeply in the Archetypal Apothecary path. The first one is power, which could also be security fear. Could also be some others, but I often see power show up with security. It's like this sense of like, what if I fail? Will I fail? And then what? Then I'm going to lose all my security. Truth is another wound, the second wound that shows up. Like this sense of like approval, losing approval. Like, will I be judged for my truth, for being my magical gift? And the third one is, that's the wound. The third wound is this sense of like magic, like doubting our magic, which is linked into control. Like, can I do this? There's this sense of like, do I even have magic? And so the remedy when we're feeling this is to learn to heal this part of ourselves, this magical part of ourselves that doubts our magic, to heal our self-doubt, to heal our imposter syndrome, so that we can express our gifts and trust our healing power, even by learning to heal ourselves first via true healing. And I distinguish true healing from like what I call the quick fixes. And the quick fixes aren't necessarily like what you'd think of as a quick fix. Like there's quick fixes that are like, say, for example, going to the doctors and getting a sticky plaster, or whatever it might be, those sorts of like really quick fix things. But often we will also interact with healing as quick fixes. And what I mean by a quick fix is really the way that we interact with healing. So if we go and we expect somebody else to heal us, that's almost like that's what the meaning of a quick fix is. Because I believe that we all have the power to heal ourselves, and to heal ourselves magically by being with the truth of who we are and being the truth of who we are. And so this work that I invite women into provides us the tools to heal ourselves and hold us through our inevitable fears. And I say inevitable because the work of soul is not easy. Like, I can't say this enough. Like, women want that quick fix, and it's understandable because that's how the condition the world works. We're taught that we're only valid if we create something quickly. But the work of becoming a healer takes longer than we've been sold. And I speak that because that's coming from a place of integrity. The work of soul is not easy. Becoming a healer, if you're called into that soul journey, is not easy. But we will also learn through that the tools to love ourselves through all the material for liberation that arises along the way, so that we can liberate our healer, so that we can express our healer, so that we can be who we've come here to be, who our souls were born to be. And our magic wounding is ultimately all centered around the disconnection from our intuition and our wisdom as wise women. It's ultimately not trusting our wise woman, our inner wise woman, because there's this part of us that always knows the answer. There's a part of us that always intuitively knows the way forward. There's a part of us that always intuitively knows how to heal. There's a part of us that always intuitively knows that we have got gifts. And when we're feeling in self-doubt or lacking confidence or feeling like an imposter, these are really signs and symptoms that we're feeling the wounding of being disconnected from trusting our intuition. And I speak in archetypal remedies. I always serve, as I said, the transmission of something of a particular archetypal remedy in each podcast episode I do. Maybe I should name those, actually. Like, I never thought about that. I sometimes do, but I don't sense that I always do. I'm going to make that more intentional. But in essence, the remedy I'm serving in today's podcast episode is the archetypal remedy of Luna, or the moon. If you don't understand what an archetypal remedy is, you might enjoy the episode on how to work with archetypal remedies for healing. There's another episode that you can go back and listen to. But ultimately, an archetypal remedy is a symbol that helps us hold up a mirror to aspects of ourselves that we've denied. There are also spirit guides and energy medicines, and there's like 3 kind of ancient wisdom bodies woven into the creation of this path, which is homeopathy, archetypal psychology, and energy healing. But ultimately, the moon, Luna, is a symbol of the mystery, the connection, to magic, to the feminine, the connection to our body, the connection to our body's natural rhythms and cycles. It's a symbol of learning to trust the magic of life that cannot be explained, but we can feel, like we intuitively feel and know undeniably that it works. For example, the moon herself moves tides. We cannot explain that. There is an undeniable connection that we know that that's what happens. Like we can't explain it yet. It's beyond human intellect, but we know it happens. She controls the tides. And so can we accept the parts of us that feel intuitively that something is true and yet can't be explained? And Luna helps us to begin to heal that disconnection as a remedy to our inner wisdom and intuition, which helps us to heal this part of us that doubts. And she does that by holding up a mirror, holding up a lens. Now, I'm not going to go too deeply into that, but I am going to offer you some ways that you can begin to start to work with her remedy, even though it's not directly working with her remedy. It's working with aspects of her remedy. I guide women more deeply into working more fully with remedies in our group journeys. And I suspect Luna might well be coming soon. But ultimately, there's always some kind of takeaway that I want women to be able to have access to. So I'm going to talk a little bit to that later in the episode. But ultimately, Luna helps us connect into our bodies. Now, why is that important? Well, there's also something that has come up recently for women, and that can come up for women when we're beginning to open to our healing gifts, is this idea of not being confident enough. Like, have I even got gifts? And there can be a dance in this. There can be a dance. So let's again hold this. Like, let's love ourselves in this dance of like feeling that deep call. Like, I know in my bones that I'm magical. And at the same time, I'm terrified of that. Like, there's a dance in that. We dance in and we devote, and we're like, oh yeah, this is great. Like I'm feeling juicy. I'm feeling good about being magical. And then like, oh my God, all the fear creeps in and it's like, whoa, hang on. I'm not sure about this anymore. And that's natural. Like, welcome that. This part of you that your little girl, inner little girl, fears magic, fears her magic. Because you've been taught that's not welcome. And I recently shared in a group that I was leading that we have to embody our gifts to teach them. And that is quite a bold statement in many ways. And it's also quite a nuanced statement. So whilst it is true, there's also nuance that I wanted to speak to in this particular episode, because there's also, there was a woman who beautifully owned and explained that she felt quite triggered that I was sharing we can't teach unless we're embodied. And so I want to break that down a little bit here, because there's this sense of like, we have to be embodied in everything we teach to be able to then pass our gifts on. And so this woman beautifully, and that she felt that I was sharing that we can't teach until we've embodied everything there is to embody for ourselves in a certain area. And she didn't feel that this was possible. This feels very pertinent to this exploration, and it's very nuanced, because yes, there is truth in what I shared. We do have to be embodied meaning in our bodies, in our experience as healers, in order to help others heal. Yes, that is true. Like what I said was true. It's deeply, deeply important to have healed and journeyed with ourselves first before passing on that wisdom. This is why I always say we need to heal ourselves in order to go on to heal others. We become an archetypal remedy for others by healing that remedy within ourselves first. And we also have all healed something to a degree. Otherwise, you would not be here listening to this episode. Usually, women do not feel a call to be a healer unless they have themselves had some kind of meaningful experience that they feel that they can pass on to the world and make a more meaningful impact with for others. So if you are here listening, that is probably you. And we're usually initiated into this work by some kind of journey that we've had ourselves, sometimes not even by choice. So if you're here listening to the Secret Roots Show, it's because your soul called you here, and there is some degree of embodiment that you already have. We are all already embodied in something that can help others heal. So if we're feeling this kind of sense of like, okay, do I have gifts? Am I embodied enough in them? Like, I'm lacking confidence. Can I really do this? You are already embodied in something that will help someone behind you heal. And that's what I'm pointing to. Like, there's this temptation to jump ahead and deny that what we have created and embodied for ourselves is not valid, that it's not magical enough. Like, there's somebody further ahead that's on an island, but like beyond where we are, who's like more magical and better. And like, that's where this kind of sense of like not trusting our magic, not trusting the magic of what we've embodied is part of this lunar wounding. And that's what I'm really pointing to here is like, yes, you do have magic. You have lived it. You have created alchemy for yourself. And the nuance, there may well still be healing for you to do to be able to serve that healing to others. Either with the wound that you've already begun to heal, there's probably some deeper journey with that. And I talk about that particular wound as like our soul remedy. Often there's a whole exploration of like discovering what we're really here for, because we can often have a sense of like, okay, I think I'm here for this. And it'll be like, I'm here for sound healing, or I'm here to be a reflexologist, or I'm here to be a Reiki healer, or I'm here to be a yoga teacher. Or like there's this kind of almost like outsourcing to the tools being our gifts. And yes, they're part of our gifts, but ultimately we are the medicine. And so there's this soul, when I go into women's soul maps, like I help them identify what's that soul remedy that you are here to serve. What were you born here? What's the core wounding that you were born here with to be able to go on and help others heal? And that becomes women's niche often. That becomes like what their medicine is for the world. It's like the light bulb that's shining out is who they are. It's what they've come here for. So this whole journey with discovering the actual medicine that we've come here for, even if we've got some kind of sense of like, okay, I think I'm here for this, there's usually somewhere deeper to go. That soul mapping with remedies will help us illuminate. And there may well still be healing with that there's more to do. There almost certainly is. I don't think I've met anybody who hasn't had like some kind of healing to do, including myself. Like there's still healing for me. Like healing and expansion with me and phosphorus, which is my archetypal remedy, my soul remedy, because I'm here to help other sensitive, magical women to express their gifts. Like there's still healing with me to do for phosphorus, which is my remedy, my soul remedy. So there will be still a degree of embodiment for you to have. And there is also likely some healing of your inner healer, which is probably why you're here, because there wouldn't be any sense of like not trusting to our intuition, the doubt of our magic, the imposter syndrome. These are all signs that we're wounded and we need to heal our inner healer. So there's perhaps both, like deeper healing with your core wound and deeper healing with your healer. And that is welcome. That does not mean that you do not have gifts that you can pass on at the level you are at now. And there's also a whole exploration that I went to in a deeper crucible around how we serve our medicine that I help women with more deeply one-to-one as well, which is very much around like there's a real distinction between whether we are teachers, whether we are healers, whether we are guides, whether we are here to hold space. There's a very big difference between teaching something that we are deeply, deeply embodied in and able to teach, because when we teach something that we're not embodied in, let me tell you, I have experienced like the worst of material for liberation, because we'll get shown by these remedies like where we need to still embody. And so I definitely make sure that I do not teach from what I'm not embodied in, because I just don't want that material for liberation anymore. I don't want my life to be obliterated and me to be shown, okay, you haven't embodied this fully. Like, here's your work over here, whilst I'm also holding people through it. Like, that just doesn't feel aligned for me anymore. But it has been where I have been in the past. And it's how I know that we have to be embodied in what we teach, specifically teaching, talking to. There's a real difference between teaching and guiding, offering reflections. And there's a difference between that and holding space. And I'm not going to go too much into that, but there's a lot of holding space that happens, which is very different to the kind of space that I hold for women who are healers, who need to learn, who need that teaching element, who need that healing element, who need that guidance element, that reflection element. But maybe are here themselves to hold space, because that's in the part of the journey where they are. And that is so needed. That holding space piece is also so needed. There's no kind of like one thing's better than another. Like we can help people wherever we are. So my point of view is that my point of view is also grounded in my in-person experience, as I said, of trying both. Like in the debate of whether we have to be embodied to teach, like I've done both. And my point of view is that yes, we need to be embodied, and we don't need to wait a lifetime until we're fully healed. The invitation is for us to meet ourselves where we are, to be where we are, and help others heal where we are, whatever we have alchemized for ourselves, which means that we can all help someone when we arrive back into our bodies and teach from our wisdom. That feels so juicy. So our stories are medicine for others. That is a big takeaway as well, is that we each have a unique remedy for others like us. There's a universal law that explains this called Simius Minibus, which means like cures like. Those like us will heal and become activated by hearing us share our embodied stories. We will be archetypal remedies through the power of our stories, through the sharing of our voices, that will help others like us to reflect and see, like we're holding mirrors up by being this archetypal remedy, by sharing our story, and they will go, oh, I didn't know that was possible. Like there's healing in that for women. Now, what does that mean for our wise women? Well, it means we have to come back down into our bodies and hear their wisdom. Because from what I know of women who are here to be healers, and what I know from my own journey, is that we tend to open to our gifts and instantly feel all the fear that then has us close our bodies, block out our inner wisdom, shut down from our bodies, shut down from the wise women intuition held in ourselves. And this is because of this magic wounding. It's because of the fears. And so we have this amazing healing experience for ourselves that we can teach from where we are. And then we open to this idea of like, okay, maybe I can become a healer, teacher, or guide. And whoosh, instantly in the opening, because opening is like opening into expansion, and that's vulnerable, that takes courage, instantly our magic wounding is activated and we go, oh, contraction, tight, tense. So we're like open, soft, like, ooh, magic. And we go, our body's going, no, we're not going there. Like, that is not safe. And our magic wounding is activated, and it makes sense from a witch wound perspective. So we're here because we feel like secret witches. The witch wound is literally ingrained into ourselves. And this witch wound is from all the times where women were burned at the stake for being in their magic. Women were burned at the stake for trusting their intuition. Women were burned at the stake for trusting their wisdom. Women were burned at the stake for their magical wisdom, for their healing knowledge, for their being an apothecary, like for their herbal wisdom, for using herbs, for using magical medicines, for using their energy healing. They were burned at the stake. And through epigenetics, even science has explained how that wound passes through generations, through our DNA, through epigenetics. And so we feel, regardless of like what's happened, like we feel like this sense of like, it's not safe to be in my body. It's not safe to hear my healing wisdom. It's not safe to hear my magic. And we shut down. We think it's not logical. It doesn't make sense. You know, women were burned for their magic in burning times. I don't feel in control. I can't trust myself. I don't have gifts. People think I'm weird if I connect to my intuition and start telling them something about what I'm downloading or receiving or channeling. And we feel fear and we shut it all down. We disembody our wisdom. We disconnect from our intuition. We stay in our secret witch wound around magic. We mistrust ourselves. We doubt ourselves. We jump out of our bodies. It's like there's a trauma. It's like we're reenacting that trauma of the witch wound times. It's like, oh God, this isn't safe. Let's go. And we stop embodying our gifts. And we doubt ourselves. And so there's a need to begin our healing by coming back to our bodies. This really is the first step. And when we doubt our intuition, well, that's really showing us, we doubt our magic, or when we feel like an imposter, it's really showing us that this is a call back home to our body to begin to hear her signals, her messages, her wisdom, and the signs and synchronicities. I see it so often. I've done it myself. I see women who are here with the most magical gifts, like the most powerful magical gifts, like block out connecting to their intuition so they feel safe all the time. And it breaks my heart because it's just inbuilt into us from this little girl who just doesn't feel safe. Like we numb, we distract, we disconnect, we focus on the mundane. Like, because it's terrifying to connect to our wisdom in a world that just doesn't trust this way of being, the feminine way of being. And that's how we arrive at doubting our magic. And so what is the first step? Well, the first step is to notice, like, playing with this for yourself. Where is this true? I invite you to question me. Like, do not just trust me on this one, because again, I know that I'm battling with the wounds often of other guides, other healers who have maybe taken away the sense of intuition. Like, we have outsourced our intuition to other people. So they're in some ways, in many ways, they're not taking away our intuition, or they are, but they're doing it innocently. And we're also innocently giving away our power. But I know that one of the things that women who have walked this path have come up against is being burned by other guides, other coaches, other healers. And so I'm very conscious and aware of that because, and it's very much something I am contemplating all the time. It's like, how can I be the one who's in integrity? Like this feels so important to me, and truth is like the most important devotion of mine. And so please do not blindly trust me on this one. Like, I'm giving you my point of view, and my invitation is always play with this yourself. Resist it, question it, ask me a question, like come into our group, question me on it. Don't just trust me. Like I was actually, this is a huge learning for me this week actually with my own guide. I was speaking to like how this, speaking to him about connection and how we're kind of conditioned to like, to think that we have to agree with someone in order to be valid, in order to create a connection. And we were talking about how, and he was sharing with me as well, how we can like disagree and still connect, because we can just be in our wild loving truth. As long as we are sharing from love, this disconnection, like that is so important. Like contrast is beautiful. We're all remedies for each other. We'll all trigger each other. So bring your resistance. I love your resistance. Like it's so welcome. Please know that like where it's not welcome in the world, it is welcome here. Do not just blindly trust me. Like I am here as a guide, guiding you in things that I have journeyed myself with and what is true for you. Like notice, where is this true for you? Like what I'm saying, are you resonating? Notice also, how do you even know whether you're resonating? How does it feel in your body when you're hearing me speak this out? Does it resonate with your heart? Does it resonate with your body? Do you feel resistance? Both are welcome. I say it all the time. It's time to come back into your body. And one of my one-to-one clients actually said to me the other day, like, she was like, I know you invite me all the time to come back into my body, and you have done for like all this time. And for the longest time, I was like, that makes logical sense. And now, because we've been working on an invitation to connect to sensation, she was like, it's finally sinking in. Now I'm like, oh, I get this. And I'm like, that's fine. I will keep sharing this, like this invitation back to your body until it sinks in. So don't rush this. Like notice where we're compelled to rush, to find that quick fix, to rush the journey of becoming a healer. And welcome that this takes time to actually feel and embody for ourselves. There is no rush in the journey of becoming a healer. There is no rush in the journey of healing ourselves. We're not failures because we take longer to heal. In fact, if anything, we're the ones doing the deep work that's the most meaningful. Because when we rush, we're actually not really doing the deep healing. And that's a reminder for myself. Like I feel like that's also something that's deeply needed from me. But and I also have embodied that. So it's like, yes, I've embodied it, and I can still use the reminder. And I sometimes feel like I repeat the same things on the show over and over, and it's needed because it can really take time to understand what I'm sharing fully. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about right now, like my invitation is firstly share that with me and I can guide you. But also like allow yourself some like being let off the hook. Like it takes time for this to sink in. Keep going. And so firstly, my invitation to get practical on this, on how to connect to our intuition to become true wise women and embody our gifts, is to begin with some inquiry. Now, the inquiry is, firstly, how do I feel about my intuition? Do I trust it? Do I resonate with doubting my magic? Do I resonate with doubting my gifts? Do I resonate with feeling like an imposter? Secondly, how far do I feel connected to my body and her sensations? Like, how far am I connected into my body and sensations, or am I actually disconnecting in this sphere of magic? And be with this question for a long time. This isn't just a like yes and no. Like, this is about you thinking, like really being with this question, because what I will say is that you may think that you are connected to your body, and I'm speaking from personal experience here, is that I really felt that I was connected to my body, and I was actually floating off on another planet when I first came back into the body, like, and started to realize the importance of coming back into the body, into my feminine body, and really connecting back into my soul, because our bodies ultimately our souls, like our soul's home. And so I invite you to begin to like peel back the layers and maybe go deeper here. And I'm going to provide a practice for you to go deeper if you want to have the courage to go here. And I invite you to share as well, like if you do go into this practice, I invite you to come and get support and come and be with us and your sisters in the Secret Witch Sisterhood over on Facebook as well, in our Facebook group, just by searching Secret Witch Sisterhood. And we'll be there to love you. So please do feel free to share how this goes as you're journeying with it. But ultimately, the invitation is to firstly contemplate, like, how far do I feel connected to my body and her sensations? And by that, I also have the questions of like, do you know how to describe her sensations? Do you know how to interpret your body's sensations and their meaning? Do you know how to follow the guidance in the sensations in your body? Or do you innocently avoid hearing the sensations? Do you numb her calls in fear? Do you listen only to the feelings you have, which are really only a guide to your wounding rather than a navigation system? So this is, again, important to explore because we are taught to navigate life by our feelings. And ultimately, the sensations in our body are the compass, not our feelings. And so this is about getting more intimate with the sensations, the physical sensations in our body, rather than just our feelings. See, we're taught to navigate life by our feelings. We're taught that if we feel fear, we're a no. We're taught that if we feel desire, that's a yes. And the truth is, our intuition is way more nuanced than that. That's a very basic, non-nuanced definition of hearing our feelings, which frequently do not indicate what's aligned. For example, we can often feel the call to being a healer, and that can be deeply, deeply aligned, and we can feel the alignment of that. We can feel the desire. And then we can simultaneously feel fear. And from the lens of fear being a no, we will start to think, okay, I feel the fear, I'm just not cut out for this. And yet, the alignment is true in the desire, and that can be felt in the sensations of our bodies. The fear is a feeling that has information. It has information that you feel fear, not that it's what's aligned is for you to give up. Like, that fear really has no meaning other than there is a wounded little girl within who is feeling terrified, who wants some love. And the only way to really discern the alignment of what is true, aka what's in our intuition, is by feeling our sensations and seeing what's really there. For example, we might feel tightness, tension, that's letting us know we have some fear. But we might also, underneath that, feel the sensations of excitement and desire. Both are welcome. And the deeper sense of alignment in that might be a yes to being a healer, so long as we can calm our body and let her know that we are safe to move through that fear. It may also be that the fear is too much for us to journey with. And we can only know that by going into our feeling, into our sensations. But mostly we've been taught, and women will describe their feelings when going into their bodies. So when I invite women, like, how does that feel in your body? Like, they will say, well, I feel angry, or I feel love, or I feel, there's a kind of emotion attached to it. And that is great emotional or feeling awareness that we're often taught how to go into. But what I'm inviting you into is not this. What I'm asking you to feel somatically is your sensations, is to name them with describing words. For example, hot, cold, tense, tight, prickly, spiky, tangled, blue, red. Like, any kind of describing words is what I'm inviting you to tune into. And then we can go deeper into learning to discern these sensations and what truths they are indicating to us beyond what we've seen before. So sensation awareness is the way that we learn to reconnect with our intuition and our inner wise woman. That's how our wise woman interacts. That's how she knows how to navigate the world. Even if we doubt our magic, especially if we doubt our magic, like this is the call. And so I'm not going to go into inviting you into the discerning the meaning piece, because that goes even deeper. That's more potent work, and that's best done supported to access the fullness, which we do in some of our group journeys. But my invitation for you right now is to take away this first tender step of beginning to connect to your intuition just by noticing your sensations. And it's not like an easy task. That's what I'm inviting you into. It's probably going to feel a little bit like, oh, what if I feel something that I don't want to feel? But let's just stick with not seeing what the meaning is, just noticing the physical sensations. And I invite you to keep a chart of this, like what sensations are you feeling? Perhaps what emotions are associated with that? What was the situation? Like if you're particularly triggered, note that down. This is something very practical that you can begin to play with and attune to connect into your body, into your inner wise woman, into your intuition. Connect back into that, because it's ultimately always been there. It's just that this part of us got wounded and learned that wasn't safe to experience. And so notice what the resistance is to this as well. So if this is something that you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to do it, and then suddenly you go to do it and you're like, oh no, okay, I'll do that another time. Like notice that resistance. This is where the most information is for our healing. Like our resistance to all of it is revealing where our wounding is. For example, we might feel that resistance to trusting the body, trusting her wisdom. And there's information in that around where we're wounded around our magic. So I am going to leave it there. I can't wait to hear what people think of this episode. And before we do complete, what I will just say is the deepest invitation of all, and this is something that I share in all my work, is to go here with love. So do not go into your body, into your sensations with this sense of like, I'm going to beat her up. Like what she reveals to me, like that's not welcome. Don't go in with that. Don't go in with that. Like come into your body with love. Love is the medicine. So have compassion for what is revealed. Like we can only open to this work. We can only open to becoming a healer with love. Because it's a journey where we're so tempted to beat ourselves up. We're so tempted to make ourselves wrong. We're so tempted to feel shame. We're so tempted to feel fear. And the antidote to that is love. I'm going to leave it there. I would love if you want to join us in the Secret Witch Sisterhood on Facebook. Please search and join us. And share your heart in there. Like there's been such a beautiful community gathering in there. We've actually just hit 555 women actually this week, which feels like a celebration. I love a good number like that, magical number, power number. And what I would also love to invite you into is if you know a woman who aspires to being a healer, who you think would make an amazing healer, who would love this episode. Perhaps she's like sitting on the fence as well, but knows deep down that she's here for this and she wants to go tenderly, slowly, like get rid of these quick fixes and like go into her wisdom and learn how to become a healer from a wise woman, tender, soft, slow place. Like share this episode with her. Like there's nothing bigger of a gift than you sharing this with a soul sister who needs this wisdom and needs to be able to attune to her own body and get in tune with her own wisdom, because I am not a guide that's here to tell you what to do. Yes, I teach, and I'm here to guide you into your own wisdom. That's so, so important, and it's not an approach that is common in this world. That's just why it's deeply important to me. Likewise, if you want help to kind of get from these fears that you have to a place where you're really ready to begin your journey into becoming a healer, let's get you to the place where you feel free, where you feel unleashed, where you feel able to be unapologetically you by allowing you to trust your wisdom, like peeling back these layers of where you don't feel safe to trust your intuition. Because My feeling is, if you're here listening to this, your soul came here to be a wise woman. And it feels time that we can tenderly open to this together. So I'm going to leave it there. I love you all deeply. And yeah, here's to another magical episode. Lots of love. As ever, I loved this episode, and here are my key takeaways. Many women experience self-doubt and imposter syndrome about their healing gifts and abilities, and rather than this being a sign to give up, my point of view is it's a call to learn to trust our intuition and connect with our inner wise woman a little bit more deeply. Becoming a healer or wise woman involves learning to heal our fear of that, which often manifests due to a cultural conditioning around magic and ancestral trauma, aka the witch wound. To heal our witch wound and inner healer's disconnect from our intuition, we need to cultivate an intimacy with our bodily sensations rather than just feelings or emotions. We must embody our own gifts and healing experiences to be able to teach and guide others. Authentic teaching comes from our lived and embodied wisdom. And that said, we all have something we have embodied. And therefore, so long as we are teaching from where we have been and where we are at now, there's a gift to be found that we can all help others with. Learning to attune to our sensations and their meanings takes time. There's no rush to be a healer. True healing is a slow, deep process. It's just that our culture values quick fixes, yet meaningful transformation takes time. If you'd like to get the show notes and links for everything we've chatted about in this episode, head to www.secretwitch.co.uk. If you know a secret witch who would love this episode, please share with them to help them liberate themselves. And so you don't miss out on next week's episode, head to your podcast app of choice and hit subscribe. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.